Chapter 4. It Pays to Be a Winner. Chesapeake, Virginia. Jack occupied the rear seat of a sleek-back GMC SUV, his gaze fixed on the passing scenery of endless trees whizzing by. He was in the company of 5 other contract candidates, and despite their initial greetings and exchanges of names, the conversation quickly turned to their respective military backgrounds. Among them, 3 had served as Army Rangers, forming an immediate camaraderie. Another hailed from the Australian Special Air Service Regiment, and the final candidate had a history with the Canadian Joint Task Force 2. The diversity of nationalities and military backgrounds in Boone Tactical's talent pool surprised Jack. His SUV was the third in a convoy of 8 vehicles, each accommodating 6 occupants, thus yielding a total of 48 potential candidates vying for a contract. However, considering that only the top 25% would successfully complete the course, the harsh reality remained that only 12 individuals would ultimately secure a contract. Jack sized up the competition in his vehicle. Since he had made friends with the many Army Rangers during his time in Ranger School, he could assess that beating them would be stiff, but doable. It was the Canadian and Australian that concerned Jack the most. Both were members of the top units in their own countries. Much akin to America's CAG, aka Delta Force, they were called upon to complete the most sensitive counter-terrorism missions. Their years of experience in shooting, moving, and communicating made them operate to a level of inhuman efficiency. Jack's years of experience as a Recon Marine may have been able to compete with them, but that 1 year off made him feel rusty compared to these men. With the added memories of not being selected for MARSOC years ago, his mind started playing games with him. Before leaving for Virginia to start the selection process, Jack was told to pack light and that everything would be provided for him. He left with a small backpack on the flight overloaded with toiletries, Under Armour tech boxers, and Thorlos Coyote brown socks. He didn't want to go cheap on the underwear or socks, as he was unaware of what lay ahead of him. When it comes to military, or in this case paramilitary, training, his undergarments were the last thing he'd want to be uncomfortable with. Those brands were what got him through every climate imaginable during his days in Marine Recon. The SUVs stopped deep into the forest of Virginia at a large motel-looking establishment. Waiting for them were tough-looking guys with dark Oakley sunglasses with black hoodies and tan 511 tactical cargo pants. It was just after dawn, and the air was still cold as Jack and the rest of the candidates in the convoy emerged from their vehicles. "Oi, make a straight line!" one of the members with the black hoodie shouted with a British accent. All 48 candidates made a straight line quickly, without the need for yelling from the men in black hoodies. Another member with a black hoodie emerged from the front door of the administrative part of the building, walking up to greet the candidates. This time, his Oakleys were on his head, and he was holding a clipboard. His bright green eyes gazed upon the candidates, slightly judging them. "All right, welcome, boys. Congratulations on making it this far," he said in a quick and to-the-point voice. "You passed the hiring manager, but this is your real interview. Check. As you know, I got 48 of you numbnuts, but the company only needs 12. That being said, you guys are gonna have to compete. But listen, hey, y'all done the whole yelling and howling training to get to where you are back in the military? Good to go? I don't care if it's Bud SQ course or whatever y'all got outside of the States. Nobody cares, all right? We are here to give you some training and a series of tests. If you pass, you pass. But hey, there's a twist. Any of y'all DevGru or CAG?" A couple of candidates raised their hands, signifying they were from units most commonly known as SEAL Team 6 and Delta Force. Jack started to realize the true weight of what he was up against. "Good, so y'all know, I need everybody to pick a bottom 5 starting next Monday. Y'all will do this every 2 days. The one at the bottom is the one that leaves. This is a boys' club. I need everyone in the company to trust each other. If your team doesn't like you here, they sure won't like you when they are downrange in some hellhole country," the man continued to speak. "So we are your cadre, and we are going to get y'all up to speed in the coming weeks on what this company is all about. Today I need y'all to get your gear and uniforms. Y'all will be wearing them for the first week, and then we will get you some money so you guys can get some professional civvies. Other than that, there is a bunking arrangement. Just come here when I call your name, and we will get you your dorms for the night." Jack had always thought this is what it would be like for a selection process for something as high-end as CAG or even the CIA's ground branch. It was a calm and quiet professional atmosphere, but the pressure to perform was almost crushing. "All right, Carter, Jack, you will be staying with Salvatore Javier," the man called as he went down the list of names. Jack picked up his bag and went to the man who held the electronic key cards. As he got his key, he waited to size up his roommate. "Hey, Javier Salvatore, but just call me Sal," he said in a stoic but approachable tone. The man looked mixed between Hispanic and white, much like Carlos, but with a distinctive jawline, deep brown eyes, and jet black hair that flowed in a part to his left, with his sides buzzed down. "Sup, bro? Jack Carter," Jack said in a self-assured and friendly manner, shaking his hand with a half-smile. The two went to their room, which had 2 twin beds next to each other, and a shared bathroom. A cheap wooden table lay on the other side of the beds with personal wardrobes on each side. The whole place looked cheap, from the drab white walls to the bedsheets and thin wool blanket that looked like they'd been used since the First World War. "All right, Sal, so the rules are no jacking off in the room," Jack quipped, trying to break the tension with some humor and an added nickname. "Yeah, sounds good," Sal said, trying to play along. While they got situated, they found uniforms and clothes already stocked for them inside the wardrobe. Their sizes were inputted after the interview back in Los Angeles, and they already had the gear waiting for them. While the room looked cheap, Boone Tactical did not skip out on the clothes for their candidates. From the Cry multicam fatigues to the Salomon combat boots, it was gear only dreamed about by Jack during his days in Marine Recon. One of the cadre members with the black hoodie made his way in from the hallway. He knocked on the side of the door. "Hey, 15 minutes outside in PT gear. We're doing the physical test. If you're not there, you're out," he said before leaving. "You ready for this, Sal?" Jack said, trying to make a teammate instead of increasing competition. Sal just took a deep breath, looked down while raising an eyebrow and cocking his head, and then exhaled. "Sure, man. Let's get it." As they got ready, Jack asked what he did before coming here. "Just got out of Bortac. With the way the unit was going, it just wasn't it," Sal explained, with his voice calm and low, as if he was talking in all lowercase letters. As they walked down, they continued to converse. Sal told his story of how he grew up in El Paso, going into the United States Border Patrol like his dad, and then being allowed to go into the Border Patrol's tactical unit, which deployed him beyond the border into Central and South America to fight cartels and human traffickers. His preference for being the tactical driver and his American Sniper Association certification made him a prime candidate for going into the private sector. As exciting as his stories were, Sal seemed disinterested in his personal life. The rest of the day was spent making sure the candidates were physically fit. From the physical fitness test to the 12-mile ruck march where each candidate had to carry 65 pounds in their pack from one point to another, the testing challenged but never pushed Jack over the edge. However, he wasn't the only one not fazed by the day one physical aspect. The other candidates were prior operators from all over the spectrum of elite war-fighting groups, and Jack was just able to be in the middle of the pack that day. It started to worry him. He had been the middle of the pack before in the many schools during his days as a Recon Marine, but with the pressure of being in the top 25%, he cursed at himself for not preparing more. As the week progressed, the cadre examined to make sure everyone was qualified for the job. This included basic medical and psychological evaluations. "Mr. Carter, you demonstrate a need for a purpose. This course isn't easy, so tell me, what will happen to you when you fail?" one of the psychologists said, trying to see how he would handle the fear of failure. Jack remained focused on his breath to let any physical response show that he was nervous. "I'll find a way to win," Jack said in a light-hearted tone. By the end of the week, they had qualified in the basic weapons available by Boone Tactical, training with the Glock handgun, the M4 rifle, the M203 grenade launcher, M240 and M249 machine guns, and the Remington 870 shotgun was familiar to Jack as it was to any of the other candidates. The training that week was not the difficult part. It was getting along with other candidates. Being alongside other strong personalities, mainly coming from the former Army Rangers, there was a need to show masculinity at every step. Whether it was after-dinner grappling or shooting contests, the need to compete was always there. Every single day would be a day Jack needed to prove himself. As strange as it was, he started to feel at home again. After the weekend of getting ready, the real training was starting. Jack, Sal, and the other candidates were assigned a basic assault kit of a plate carrier, helmet, Glock 17 handgun, M4 rifle, and magazine pouches to go with the weapons. One candidate was overtly dismayed. "Hey man, this all you got?" he said. Whatever military background he was coming from, he was used to getting higher-end accessories for his gear. "If you complete training, you're going to get a bonus, and then you can buy all the other ornament you want. But for now, Boone Tactical operators are training to be brilliant in the basics," one cadre instructor said. Jack had set up his loadout. Since he was a right-handed shooter, he stacked the M4 magazines to be there in the front of the plate carrier and two on the left side of his belt. That way, he could utilize his left hand to quickly draw a magazine to reload. He used his belt with a drop holster on his right, with his pistol magazines attached to the side. Once he got the tourniquets, he attached one to the right shoulder strap of the plate carrier and the other on the left side of the belt in front of the magazines, both for quick access. His setup wasn't special, though, as it seemed everybody had the same idea. Everyone was a prior special operator in one way or another, and gear setup is a basic skill they mastered. Jack's memories of good times with this gear started to pour in. The rush of fast roping with Carlos and his team onto a ship, and the first kick into the door of a shoot house were all giving him a sense of nostalgia. At least Jack was starting to have a good time with the training. The next week was dedicated to fast-paced shooting. Jack looked on as members of the Australian SASR, Ukrainian Spetsnaz, and American Special Forces, as well as a myriad of other backgrounds, rushed to the burned-out vehicle with their rifles to shoot out a star target, or a pinwheel of targets that go down when shot, but also swing down according to gravity, making it difficult to continue to shoot. It was Sal's turn, and as he went up, he was berated by another candidate. "Hey, La Migra! Just pretend like they're a bunch of Mexicans," a loud, obnoxious voice yelled. The guy's name was Braden, a former SEAL from the West Coast. He set himself up on the first day to be one of the biggest and loudest personalities among the 48 candidates. Sal didn't respond, nor did he seem to care. The cadre member with the stopwatch yelled, "Go!" and Sal rushed as fast as he could to the vehicle. He popped off 5 shots in quick succession, then safe-tied his rifle. "Time! Damn, Salvatore," the cadre said. Sal walked back, making sure to give the finger to Braden. It was Jack's turn. He kept his rifle at the high ready and focused on his breath, visualizing what he needed to do. At the sound of "Go!" he rushed in a large stride to the vehicle and let himself hit the side of the car. The audible thump was heard by others. He oriented himself, aimed through the red holographic circle, and squeezed the trigger as soon as the targets were in view. He then safe-tied his weapon. "Not bad, but what was that cowboy crap you did? You trying to fight the car before you fight the enemy? Control your body," the cadre member snapped. Jack was used to getting criticism, but getting it while everyone else was breezing through the drill worried him. Was I going to leave? He thought. The rest of the day was devoted to more shooting drills in different stances and scenarios. 2 members didn't make it in the allotted time. Still, Jack was worried about tonight. As they went inside the makeshift classroom, he struggled to write down someone that wasn't equal or better than him. So, he just wrote down people he wouldn't want to work with, that Braden guy he heard talk to Sal being one of them. He walked out of the classroom, noticing an older gentleman waiting for him, arms clasped behind his back in an upright posture. Carter, he said in an Eastern European accent. His slicked-back gray hair and neatly trimmed silver mustache were coupled with fatigued, yet kind eyes. If it wasn't for the scar going down on the left side of his jaw, he would have mistaken him as a kind old Baltic rancher. "Yes, sir," Jack replied with slight confusion. "You seem anxious, my friend," he said. It was clear that English was a second language, but Jack appreciated that he was doing his best. While the man struggled with the words, he still kept a high level of confidence. "It's all good," Jack said, trying to deflect any attempts at provoking weakness to a potential competitor who was trying to get in his head. "My friend, you must calm down if you are to make it," he continued to explain to Jack. Jack knew that he had a point. "You're right, sorry," Jack said, checking his ego. "What are you, Russian?" he said, trying to make conversation. "I am from Ukraine," he snapped, eager to correct him. Jack apologized, and the Ukrainian walked away to light a cigarette with a few others. Jack walked back to the empty dorm room. Sal must have been hanging out with the others, so Jack laid down in his bed, thinking about how if the Ukrainian knew he was anxious, then others might know that too, possibly putting him on the list to go. About half an hour later, the tension was palpable as a list was posted in the recreation center of the building. The space featured a few flat-screen TVs neatly arranged on shelves, each loaded with an extensive collection of DVD movies. A handful of well-worn thrift store couches were scattered around the area, offering seating for those eagerly awaiting the results. Jack made his way down from his room, his heart racing with anticipation. As he approached the list, he felt a sense of relief wash over him. His name was not among the bottom 5 candidates, which meant he had avoided elimination. Instead, it was Braden, the individual who had engaged in a spirited exchange with Sal earlier, who did not make the cut. It became evident that having a loud and dominating personality, while it may have garnered attention, was not necessarily a guarantee of success in this competitive environment. The next day, a day without voting, was dedicated to classroom instruction and field training. The candidates went over security protocols in the class. Jack had to start from scratch in his education in security operations. As a Recon Marine, it would be up to him to navigate and sneak through the security forces to accomplish his objective. Now, he had to study the way to prevent anyone from coming past him. "Hey, Sal," Jack said to him later that afternoon. "Do you know much about this security stuff?" Sal let out a sharp puff of air through his nose and smiled. "Yeah, I can help you. Those years guarding a desert in Texas before Bortak definitely helps." During their field training, one of the key exercises involved practicing coordinated movement with a VIP, very important person. This exercise emphasized the importance of maintaining continuous visual and physical contact with the VIP while also ensuring that their surroundings were vigilantly covered from every possible vantage point. Jack and Sal were assigned as a team, moving in sync with one another and maintaining clear and constant communication to coordinate their actions effectively. "Holding at the bottom of the stairs," Jack would say, pointing his weapon up, making sure no one would be coming down. "Moving up," Sal would reply. As the two were being the point men, they guided the rest of the team to a secure point for the VIP. After the exercise, the Ukrainian assigned as team leader, whom Jack found out to be named Andriy, looked at Jack and Sal with approval. "Salvatore, you did good. Very fast, very ferocious," Andriy said in the after-action meeting. "Carter, I need you to be faster." Jack took the criticism, yet he wondered why Andriy had so much interest and disapproval for an American man he never met. The next day, the voting day, consisted of room clearing and close-quarter battle in the shoot-house. It was an open warehouse with rooms made of black ballistic bricks and wooden doors. Above was a catwalk for the cadre to watch the candidates during the exercise. It was over 2 years since Jack had gone over the complex application of close-quarter battle. The tactics involved were extremely complicated and incredibly difficult, if not communicated clearly. Yet Jack still tried to remember what needed to be done. depending on where he was in the stack or the line of operators outside the door that needed to be breached. He had a job both outside the door and when they moved inside. Jack Carter was the two-man, as in the second person in the stack. While the first person had his weapon pointed at the door in case anyone ran out, Jack would throw a flashbang grenade into the room after the third person would set a small charge underneath the handle and pull the detonation cord. Bang! Crash! Once the small explosive charge detonated and Jack hurled the flashbang grenade, the team of 4 swiftly entered the room, maintaining a fluid and coordinated formation. They swiftly traversed through the doorway, commonly referred to as the fatal funnel. Inside the room, the doorway was situated in the corner of the wall, and on the other side, there were 3 targets that needed to be engaged. The first team member immediately moved to the right along the room's wall, expertly aligning his weapon and discharging 2 rounds into the chest and 1 into the head of the targets. Meanwhile, Jack planted himself at the entrance of the fatal funnel and veered off toward the left side of the wall. He encountered a momentary stumble but managed to regain his balance, all while aiming his weapon at the second target and delivering 3 rapid shots. "Moving," he said as he continued to move down the far left corner of the room, also known as the point of domination, a tactic used to ensure the room was clear. He didn't notice any of the other guys talking as they moved into the building. "Clear," Jack said. The team was already stacked on the open doorway on the right side of the cleared room, leading to a hallway. Jack fast-walked with his rifle in a high carry so he didn't point it anymore. "Bro, split stack on the hallway," the 4th man muttered to Jack. Jack cursed at himself again. A split stack is when one operator is on one side of the hallway and the other is on the adjacent side, pointing their rifles inward from the hallway at 45 degrees for overlapping cover, while the 2 in the back are behind them, covering the end of the hallway. Jack rushed to the other side of the doorway and started to feel comfortable again, moving with the operator on the other side. The lack of knowledge was starting to get to Jack's confidence. He completed the shoot house, yet he got inside his head about that mistake. Rushing to correct himself by running across to the other side of the doorway left himself exposed to possible gunfire, a mistake that would have gotten him killed. While his mind was playing games with him, he took a step back and realized that if he wanted this job, he would have to check his ego on his mistakes and be better the next time. "Hey, Clint," Jack asked the 4th man on the stack after the round. "Give it to me straight, man. What'll I mess up on, and how can I fix it?" Clint was an ex-CAG guy who wasted no time on what Jack had messed up. It seemed as if Clint somewhat appreciated the fact that Jack was asking for feedback. But after the criticism, he just said, "You need more practice, man. Maybe another opportunity will come later." Jack's heart dropped, but he wasn't sad. He was frustrated for not preparing better. "What was it that these guys have that I don't?" he continued to ask. Later that night, Jack walked up to the new list of the bottom 5, and he was miraculously not on it. Those who argued with their team after the shoot house had their names shown for all to see, thus humbling them. Andre walked up behind Jack, sitting next to Sal in the rec room, putting his hand on his shoulder. "My friend, tough day, no?" Andre said, still maintaining his calm, friendly demeanor. Jack's ego was still bruised. "Yeah," he said, trying to close out the conversation. Andre didn't back down as he pulled up a chair next to him. "I have keys to shoot house and permission from cadre," he said, as if selling him on an idea. "You'll need practice if you want the job," he said. Jack perked up. He knew that he needed time to get better. "You're right. What is it that you can teach me?" Jack asked. Andre just smiled. "Get your kit. You might need a buddy too." He nodded towards Sal. "I'll go," Sal nodded. "You look like you need the help, bro, and these other guys are getting on my nerves." The 2 of them donned their assault kit without magazines or bullets in their rifles. Andre assumed his position on the catwalk, overseeing the training. Meanwhile, Jack and Sal engaged in dry fire exercises. In these drills, they practiced and rehearsed the specific movements and actions required for close-quarters combat scenarios without actually discharging any live ammunition. Andre, in his role as an instructor, didn't hold back in offering constructive critiques and feedback on every action Jack took, even though this occasionally grated on Jack's nerves. However, Jack understood that in this line of work, the learning process needed to be demanding and unrelenting. Such critical teaching was vital because in situations where bullets are flying and lives are at stake, every action and decision must be precise and well practiced. They ended around 3 a.m. Jack was smoked, but close-quarter battle drills were drilled into his brain again, and he was able to do it with Sal as smooth as butter. Jack appreciated that Andre and Sal would take time to help him, but he also felt babied, and that he should have known this beforehand. "How much more do I have to catch up on?" he asked himself. The next day was a continuation of classes in the fundamentals of security and rehearsals of convoy tactics using the same SUVs that they were driven here with. Each person took turns as the lead vehicle, follow-on vehicles, and the VIP's vehicle as they drove through the dense forest of the green Virginia countryside. Jack took the non-voting day to relax and just learn. He also started to get to know some of the other candidates and picked their brains on their experiences before coming to Boone Tactical. Friday hit, meaning one more test day before the weekend allowed them time outside the training area. This time, it was a box drill. The concept was that a candidate had a bag over the head, hung by a rope in a 200-square-foot room. The cadre would set up different scenarios, while the candidate's vision and senses were obscured by the bag and loud rock music. When the bag was lifted, the candidate would have to immediately react. Scenarios could range from guys holding hostages to someone asking for a handshake. The candidates were given a paintball mask and a Glock with sim rounds. These rounds are common for training law enforcement and special operations. They acted like regular rounds but had a paint canister in place of the actual bullet. Thus, the recoil and sound of the gun are accurate, but the less-than-lethal rounds provide good force-on-force training. It didn't mean that the pain of getting hit with one wasn't excruciating. They each got 3 random scenarios. When it was Jack's turn to don the bag, he tried to calm himself, focusing on any sounds around him to give him a clue. It was no use, as a boombox nearby blasted death metal to increase his nerves. Within a second, the bag went up. Instantly, a man in large red padded armor and a football helmet swung a padded pugil stick toward Jack's head. He tried to react, but it was too late. The assailant hit him in the head, taking Jack off his feet, and landed hard on the ground. Jack shot the man with the sim round, still gasping for the air that was knocked out of him. He got back up for round 2, still a bit dizzy from the blow to the head, but he steadied himself. The bag went on, death metal music played, and then the bag came off. A man wielding an M4 rifle leveled his weapon at Jack. In a swift response, Jack promptly raised his pistol and fired 2 rounds into the padded chest of his assailant, neutralizing the threat. He then scanned the room to ascertain if there were any additional adversaries present. As he did so, another man rushed into his field of view, brandishing his own rifle and taking aim at Jack. Jack attempted to fire first, but unfortunately, his reaction was not quick enough to preempt the incoming threat. A sudden, searing pain lanced through Jack as a sim round struck him squarely in the abdomen. The impact sent him sprawling to the ground with a jolt, the pain radiating intensely around his gut. It was a torment that made him feel as if he might retch from the sheer intensity of it. In rapid succession, another sim round struck him, this time landing on his shoulder. The impact had a temporary numbing effect, causing a brief loss of sensation in the entire arm. "Hey, index, index!" one of the cadres shouted, and the lights went on. A medic went to Jack, but Jack threw him off. "Get off me!" Jack yelled. His anger was his only respite from the pain as he fought hard to stand back up. "Let's go! Give me the last one!" he ordered, somehow finding the boldness to yell at the cadre. It didn't matter to Jack. He wanted someone to pay for his pain, so he put the hood back on. As the hood went up once more, a man had a hostage in a rear chokehold, one arm constricting the victim's neck, while he brandished a pistol menacingly with his other hand. In an instant, Jack reacted decisively, discharging a round into the assailant's face. The jolt of the impact caused the assailant to release his hostage, but Jack's response didn't stop there. He continued to fire relentlessly into the padded man, expending every round in his pistol's magazine. During this intense and violent encounter, a strange transformation overcame Jack. His vision narrowed, as if he were looking through a tunnel, and the acute pain he had felt moments ago seemed to dissipate, replaced by an eerie sense of cathartic violence. Despite his inherently higher moral values, he couldn't deny the rush of satisfaction and almost primal enjoyment he felt in inflicting harm upon someone who posed a direct threat. "Kata!" the cadre instructor screamed, turning on the lights. He grabbed Jack by the back of the collar. "Look!" the instructor said, as he forcefully guided with his hand to the left and the right side of the room. There was a person on either side of the room with rifles, ready to shoot Jack again. "The only reason I called them off is so I don't have to deal with your broken ribs. Get out of here." Jack's frustration and anger swelled inside of him afterward. At the end of the exercise, he sat in his room, staring up at the ceiling, wondering if he was going to leave next. Even Sal steered clear of him that afternoon. He started to accept that he wasn't cut out to be a warrior again. The feeling sunk in with the increasing weight of the thought of being placed at the bottom of the list. That emotional worry, mixed with the dull pain of the abdominal wound he sustained, made him suffer. That night, Jack walked to the rec room, holding onto the walls because the pain in his abdomen was too much to stand up straight. He moved through the crowd to look at the list. The name Jack Carter was just second to last. He stared intently at how close his name had come to being kicked out, while the other operators stole glances at him, seeing the machinations of his mind on his face. Apparently, he wasn't the only one who lost his cool in the hooded box drill. He made it to another day, but only just barely. Jack needed to recover if he was going to make it through to Monday. Thus, while others would celebrate on the weekend off, he went straight back to bed in an attempt to rest and recover. He was just about to leave the room when Andre stopped him. "My friend, are you okay?" Andre warmly asked. "Yeah, I'm good. Just going to my room to sleep this off. I don't think I'm going anywhere this weekend," Jack replied. "Oh, good, good. Sunday, we go hiking," Andre said, as if Jack had already agreed. "What? No, I can't do that," Jack said. He was in pain, and he didn't know if he even would recover by next Monday. "Nonsense. You'll be fine," Andre smiled, as he patted his shoulder like a father would do to a young boy before going to bed. Jack tried to understand why an older, obviously seasoned Ukrainian man took an interest in a young, failing American like him. It was annoying to Jack, like he was being coddled. Saturday, Jack rested, icing his abdomen while reading the Boone Tactical Security Manual and relaxing with YouTube videos and a Netflix show. Sal had managed to give Jack some fast food from the outside town of Chesapeake, and Andre had a bottle of Nemiroff vodka to aid in his recovery. "Good stuff, eh? Sip it. You'll feel better," Andre joked. Despite his discomfort, Jack managed to make his way over to the small fridge where he intended to stow the bottle of vodka. In a moment of temptation, he looked around, checking to ensure no one was watching, and quietly indulged in a couple of sips from the bottle on that Saturday night. By the following Sunday, Jack's abdominal pain had begun to subside, offering some relief. He decided to accept Andre's invitation to go hiking. As the rain gradually subsided, the expansive green landscapes of Virginia opened up before him. The elderly Ukrainian man was already waiting for Jack at the trailhead, which led into a captivating expanse of marshland not far from the training grounds of Boone Tactical. "My friend, how are you?" Andre said. Feeling better," Jack replied, trying to mask a slight headache from the excess alcohol ingested the night prior. He noticed Andre was carrying a large pack on his back, Probably getting a ruck workout in, Jack figured, somewhat disappointed in himself that he didn't grab his own. The two walked down a dirt trail that loomed above a flooded and obscure swamp. The cloudy sky slightly muted the colors of the trees and water, but Jack was just glad he was above the dark, murky waters that reminded him of his time in ranger school. He vividly remembered trying to take a platoon to an objective within a certain amount of time, only to have the mud and surprisingly deep pockets of water slow the team down while soaking and soiling their gear. "My friend, I see you are struggling in this course," Andre said as he walked beside Jack, snapping him out of his memories. "Yeah, it's been a while since I left the Marines, so I forgot a few things," Jack defended. You see, knowledge is no problem with you. You are a very fast learner," Andre replied. "I think it is something else you are missing," Andre said, as they approached a bridge over a large pool of swamp water. Andre stopped in the middle of the bridge and faced Jack. "I guess you're right. Honestly, I don't think I can compete with seasoned operators like you." "I don't even know what I'm doing here," Jack said, quietly frustrated with himself. "I guess I'm just looking for my purpose. You know, when I was a boy, the Soviet Union had control of my country. They acted with an iron fist. We Ukrainians tried to resist, but it was no use. Then the Soviet Union fell. For a time, it seemed peaceful, but tensions with the Russians were very bad. When the war in Crimea started, I was fresh-faced and eager like you. Yet, once the fighting started and I drew blood from somebody else, I learned." "What did you learn?" Jack asked, inquisitive as to why he was telling his backstory so suddenly. "I learned what combat was all about," Andre spoke softly. "Please, enlighten me. I don't know if you know this, but," Jack tried to say. "You have no combat experience, I know," Andre cut Jack off. "I see it in your eyes and your actions," Andre continued to explain while dropping his pack with an unusual thump. "You have passion, you have control, but you do not know how to use both well," Andre explained as he pulled a large iron kettlebell around 60 pounds from his pack and placed it on the wooden guardrail of the bridge. What interested Jack was that there was a chain around the handle of the kettlebell and a singular prison cuff. "Well, then, how do I learn to control that?" Jack questioned, still confused as to what was going on. Within a second, Andre slapped the cuff on Jack's wrist. "By fighting for your life," Andre stoically said, pushing the kettlebell off the bridge and into the water, and bringing Jack down into the cold, murky swamp as well. Jack plunged headfirst into the darkness. The cold nearly sapped him of his breath, but he fought to control the chill that was consuming him. He was running out of air, sinking to the bottom of the surprisingly deep pool of swamp water. He felt the kettlebell hit the bottom, sinking into the mud. Jack's first thought was to swim up, carrying the 60 pounds with him. He kicked and pulled with his free arm as hard as he could. It was no use. The weight had gotten stuck in the mud, and even if Jack didn't have a sore abdomen, it wouldn't have been possible to generate enough force to pick up the weight. He did everything in his power to not panic. His so-called friend threw him into this water, and with what he observed so far, there was no way out. Yet he controlled his emotions to overcome the panic. "I am not going to die here," his mind chanted. Since he couldn't see, he felt around the chain and down toward the handle. The chain was tough but thin. After having to let some of the carbon dioxide from his lungs go, he scavenged around the swamp floor. His hand felt pebbles, but he stopped when he found a larger rock with sharp edges. Running out of breath, he wrapped the chain around the handle of the kettlebell as tightly as he could, giving the chain tension. Then, with both hands, he brought the rock up and slammed it down into the handle as fast as he could. Nothing happened. He tried again and again, But the deep, muddy water made it hard for him to generate enough force. His air was nearly depleted, and he felt his body start to spasm out of control from the lack of oxygen. It seemed as if this was the end. He tried, and again, he failed. Yet, after his sense of control faltered, his rage consumed him with specific surgical intensity. I am not going to die here. Jack summoned everything he had left. Laying the chain down flat against the handle of the kettlebell, he used the sharp edge of the rock and brought it down hard against the chain. His control supplied the precision by making sure he hit the chain in the same spot. His rage carried the power to drive through the chain. Jack felt the chain break apart. He was instantly relieved and pushed to the top of the water and started to see the light. The only problem now was that the darkness started to appear in his eyes, and he began to black out. He was out of energy, and his lungs were screaming at him. Yet Jack fought to the top of the water, cracking the surface and drawing a huge breath of relief. He swam to the grass beside the bridge, where Andre was waiting, hands clasped behind his back. Jack wanted to kill him. As soon as he got out of the water, he went to deliver a haymaker with his right arm across Andre's face. Andre caught it and flipped him over his shoulder, landing Jack into the grass. Jack struggled to get up, but Andre dug his knee into his chest. "You see, my friend, passion," Andre pointed at Jack's heart, "is what gives you your power. Control," Andre pointed to Jack's head, "is what gives you the precision. That is what makes a true warrior." Jack Carter took that in for a second. "So you try to kill me?" he yelled in confusion. Andre pulled a key from his pocket and took off the cuff that was still clasped to Jack's wrist. "No, my friend. Why do you think that I would kill you? I am here to help," he said with a smile. "Why me?" Jack asked. "Because you needed it," Andre simply said, while laughing and picking Jack up from the ground. "My friend, you also need a shower." That revelation in the swamp water awakened something in Jack. It was a new sense of enlightenment on the way of the warrior. From that point on, the course went through all aspects of executive protection, reconnaissance, surveillance, shooting, moving, and communicating. They practiced protecting VIPs in both daytime and nighttime settings. Jack would go back to the shoot house to continue to shoot in both lit and dark rooms. From that point on, Jack would see the class whittle down to either failing tests, dropping on request, or being voted out. Jack made sure to work with every candidate, building a good rapport with them and establishing himself as a good teammate. In the off time, Jack and Sal would either hang out at the local bar along with the rest of the remaining candidates drinking beer, or being in the room together, getting drunk and playing video games from an old PlayStation 2 console that Sal had bought. With only a week left, Jack saw Andre with a packed bag heading out. "Hey, what happened, man? I didn't see that you got voted out." Jack stopped him before he went to the SUV that would take him to the airport. Andre turned around and smiled with confidence. No, I was not voted out. No one in there has the balls to do that. But my country needs men," Andre explained. "The Russians have invaded my homeland. No amount of money here will keep me from defending my homeland." "I understand. You gotta do what you have to," Jack replied. "And, thanks for everything. Even that crazy stunt you pulled at the swamp," he cracked. "My pleasure. I'd do it again if I could," Andre winked. "I gotta ask, Andre, why'd you do that for me?" Jack asked. Andre's face lit up with a warm smile, and with a simple, heartfelt gesture, he reached beneath his collar, revealing a necklace with a cross pendant. The cross was exquisitely crafted, fashioned from gleaming gold and featuring a delicate depiction of Jesus Christ crucified upon it. Andre carefully removed the necklace from around his own neck and then offered it to Jack. "God called me to help you," Andre spoke. "It is his word and his calling that gives me my purpose, and my purpose of serving and helping others in God's name makes me feel whole." Maybe it can do the same for you." Jack took the cross. Jack believed in Christianity, but besides the boot camp church services and his time at the University of San Diego's religious studies program, he never thought much about God. Yet he didn't want to disrespect the man who tried to teach him a lesson by trying to kill him, and accepted Andre's gift. When Jack donned the cross, Andre smiled. "God be with you, and wherever you may go, always remember, there might not always be light in the darkness, so make sure you take the light with you," Andre said, looking down at the cross he had given. He left without giving Jack a chance to reply. The two both went separate ways. Jack was disappointed and honestly a little sad that Andre had quit, yet it only made Jack admire him more. God and country were more important than a fortune to a man like Andre. At the end of the training stood Jack, Sal, and 10 others. The lead cadre came to the recreation room as the 12 were partying with pitchers of beer and pizza. "All right, boys, y'all did good. Corporate is sending you boys a check," he said, enjoying how happy the candidates were in their accomplishment. "Also, keep an eye out for your emails. That's where you will be getting your contracts. Also understand that you, for the most part, will be separating from here, as Boone Tactical has a lot of customers. So the SUVs will take you tomorrow to the airport. From there, you guys are security contractors with the Boone Tactical Company," the cadre member continued to explain. The 12 candidates hoisted their beers up in a cheer. By the end of the night, Jack crashed onto his bed, wasted. Yet as he stared up at the ceiling, he felt the cross around his neck as he thought about what Andre had said to him. "God be with you." The next morning, both Jack and Sal awoke from their drunken slumber, thankful that there were no more training days left. They immediately grabbed their bags and started packing the clothes and shoes that once occupied their training closet. "Hey, did your bonus come in?" Sal asked. "Yeah, unbelievable," Jack replied, mentioning the new $20,000 in his bank account. "Do you know where you're going?" Jack asked. "Not yet. Let me see." Sal went for his phone, scrolling through the emails. "What?" he said in amusement. "The Philippines?" With his interest peaking, Jack went for his phone too and noticed a text from Carlos. "A dog looks out for his leader." Jack opened up his email app on his phone. The first was the contract agreement. Client, Westpac Archaeological Services. Expedition. The second was a plane ticket. Destination, Ninoy Aquino International Airport, Philippines.